Week 3 is almost in the books. We do have Detroit at Baltimore tonight. Fascinating, juicy, tantalizing matchup. But let's go back and sort the Sunday pile with the one and only Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. Before we get to the fact that I believe the 25 Eagles are the 24 Chiefs, I'll explain why people misunderstood me on Twitter. No way. The Atlanta Falcons reminded me of somebody or a team, a different team than the Falcons yesterday. Let's see, turnovers, penalties, pre-snap shenanigans, curious play calling. The quarterback looked lost. They looked generally unprepared. They reminded me of the Panthers. What happened to them? Did they just drive up the morning of the game? Did they practice this week? That was one of the most curious performances I've ever seen because the Panthers won 30-0, but I don't think the Panthers were great. I think the Panthers were just there.
Yeah, I think the Panthers' defense was really good yesterday,
yeah,
which is a welcome surprise. Yeah, maybe that defense is not the worst defense in football after all. And I don't know. The Bears and Cowboys are pretty bad, man.
The Cowboys and Dolphins, yes, are awful.
Dolphins, yeah. Panthers. I think there's a chance. I think there's a decent chance the Panthers are not a bottom 5 defense.
Okay,
which is not saying something great. It's just it's an improvement over what we thought.
Right.
But yeah, like Atlanta, Penix looked super anxious and jumpy and was never really comfortable. It's a game where if you're a serious football team with serious aspirations of making the playoffs and winning the division, you have Tampa Bay, 3 straight games. They stormed down the field. Baker Mayfield, game-winning touchdown, setting up a game-winning score, whether it's a field goal or throwing a touchdown. And then you have a Falcons team that, in theory, wants to compete with them and goes to Carolina against a Panthers team that, wasn't like last stand or anything like that. But if the Panthers had gotten blown out again, or were down, I guess they're 1-1 against the spread, but like if they've gotten, in a situation where they just piled up a bunch of garbage time points in the fourth again, I think you, at least with David Tepper's history, have to start wondering about Dave Canales' job status, and then they go out, and I can't believe this stat. You saw it on the broadcast, so I'm going to roll with it. That was the Panthers' first 30-point victory since 2014. That is crazy. They would do a Super Bowl the year after that.
Exactly.
I mean, in terms of the Panthers covering and the Panthers winning, I'm not that shocked because it is a divisional road game.
Yep.
Everyone's counting out Carolina. Everyone says Atlanta's a sure thing. Atlanta was picked pretty, I think, 5-10% survivor leagues. And it's the NFL, right? Any given Sunday, weird stuff can happen. Well, yeah, but I'll be curious to see, is this a spark for the Panthers? Are they maybe a little bit better on defense and then can kind of try to make some strides on offense moving forward? Or is this just an aberration for, I can't say that word for some reason, it's like 2 weeks in a row, for the Falcons? Or can they bounce back? I mean, they quote unquote dominated against Minnesota, but they didn't score a touchdown until the very end. It was kind of meaningless. So, I mean, I think you have to have questions about this Falcons offense for sure moving forward. And then Carolina, it's like, how much can you build on this type of win to try and, start to re-salvage a season that looked lost 2 weeks in?
By the way, there were a bunch of people who were on the Falcons in that Vegas $18.5 million survivor pool. 7%. 7% had the Falcons. Almost 11% were on the Packers. We'll get to that as well. I'm not surprised that Carolina won the game, mostly because, Atlanta's not awesome. I thought Atlanta certainly could have set themselves up for more success. I still don't understand. If you're good at running the ball and the Panthers are across the other line of scrimmage, I don't understand why that isn't the obvious concentration on your offense until and when the Panthers stop you. They put you in a position where, all right, the run isn't going to work for us today. But they didn't do that. And I don't understand. By the way, the Cardinals didn't do it either the previous week. And I will forever be baffled by what I believe to be simple things. It's obviously not that easy, because if it were, then those teams would do it. So they're obviously seeing other things. I don't know who was calling plays for the Falcons, but they put way too much on Michael Penix. And by the way, this has not been a great start to the season for any young quarterbacks. They all look trash. Penix doesn't look good. C.J. Stroud doesn't look good. Drake May doesn't. It's a mess all over the league. Caleb Williams looked good against Dallas's defense, but then again, Russell Wilson looked good against Dallas's defense. So let me move on to the what I said before was that the Eagles this year remind me of the Chiefs last year. How many games last year did the Chiefs win based on the other team blowing it?
It was at least like 3 or 4,
right.
I think. I mean,
right?
they ended up going like 7-2. I think it was 7-2. Maybe it was even like 9-2 in one-score games.
Missed field goals, right? Missed field goals, drop passes. I mean, the Rams should have won the game, right?
Oh yeah, and I mean, you talk about an all-time bad beat. The Rams were one of the 5 plays in the Rams plus 3.5 were one of the 5 consensus plays in the Circa Millions contest. And there is no way that's not covering until all of a sudden Jordan Davis, who weighs 336 pounds, is running 40 miles an hour with the ball off a blocked field goal to score. And I was pointing out on the group chat, I said like ATW, I was like, look, like, I mean, the smart thing is probably to go down.
Right.
And my buddy Nathan Busher correctly pointed out, he's like, that dude might get 2 or 3 touchdowns in his life. There is no chance he's going down when he gets that ball in his hand. And I get it. But yeah, like that is the only beat that I can remember worse in recent memory, where it's just like, there's just, the Rams are lining up for a game-winning field goal.
Right.
But worst case, he misses, or worst case, it's blocked and he's tackled, because the Eagles are winning. So they get the ball. Like they're not like incentivized.
It's over.
Score. Yeah. And the only one I can remember was worse was it Washington and the Chiefs when Alex Smith was on the Chiefs? Maybe Washington plus 7 on Monday Night Football, and there was some pitchy woo woo at the end.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. It was like somehow Washington lost by 10 or something.
I remember.
Ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, like, but that is about as bad a beat as you can get. If you had Rams plus 3.5, I somebody like FanDuel or DraftKings or something, somebody needs to issue a "we're sorry" promo bet.
Right. I'll give you a bonus bet.
Or something like that.
Anybody who had the Rams plus 3.5, you get a bonus bet.
On the game itself, like the Eagles, I think one of the things you have to take away from it is, okay, look at them opening up the offense a little bit. That was interesting. Yep. They should do that more. They started to do it only out of necessity, and it actually worked, throwing downfield to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Yeah. Jalen Hurts ended up having a monster game. I think it does show you when they are clicking that they are one of the most dangerous offenses in football.
Yep.
Defensively, very good team, and Philly's just going to be there at the end probably. I do think the Rams, and just the way that they played the first half, and now like Sean McVay will, for as smart and young, smart coach, he will, I don't want to say turtle up a little bit, but I think he believed he could run the ball, win that game with his defense, and it just backfired a little bit. He probably needed to keep their foot on the gas. That's a lesson learned, but I think this Rams team is, top 10 team in football.
I agree.
Whether it's 5, 6, 7, they're very good across the board. Matthew Stafford playing some awesome football right now. I think it's just sort of one of those fluky, crazy NFL games that ends in an outcome that maybe doesn't totally show us what happened in that game.
No, I agree. If Matthew Stafford stays healthy, the Rams, I mean, I wouldn't be completely shocked if we saw the Rams and the Eagles again. In the maybe in an NFC Championship game setting.
I will point out too that like the Rams had a really good chance to go 3-0.
Yeah.
And on the other side, or not on the other side, but in the late window, the 49ers with Mac Jones for the second straight week found a way to win and get to 3-0. George Kittle on IR, Brock Purdy ruled out before the game, but is close to coming back. Christian McCaffrey looks really good. That defense, I think, can sort of start to come together as the season goes on. And if you're the Rams, like that's just it's one of those weeks where if you win that game and the 49ers lose to the Cardinals, you're at the top of the division and feeling really good. And now all of a sudden, that division looks tough. Seattle was blew out.
Yes.
New Orleans, like unbelievable fashion yesterday. They were up 21-0 before you get YouTube TV like queued up. And the Cardinals. I don't know that I'm scared of the Cardinals, but they're at least a competent mid-level team.
I don't know. I'm way off the Cardinals. I will say that the Seahawks were the Hobag survival pool selection of the week.
Yeah, they were 40%.
Yes,
and depending on which Survivor League you're in, and they got you there. It was the Seahawks and the Bills, and then the Packers. But my overall point is just that that's a game where if you're the Rams, you're at probably 95 to 99% win percentage in that game at various points, and to lose it on the road against a defending Super Bowl champ to get to it's just one of those that when you get to week 18 and we're looking at who's got a bye, who's hosting a playoff game, who's going on the road, and all of a sudden you're second in the division instead of first, and instead of hosting, it's not gonna be the Cowboys, but hosting, you're hosting, I don't know who you're hosting. Instead of hosting a 5, 6, 7 seed, suddenly you're one of those 5, 6, 7 seeds, and you have to go to Philadelphia instead, and that could be the difference between going home in the middle of January and maybe playing in February.
Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com, joining us as we sort the Sunday pile. When we think back on Week 3, we're just going to think about blocked field goals, right?
That was, the witching hour. I don't watch Red Zone just because I
right, I don't either.
I bring a second TV out and just roll 8 games at once. And then like Washington and Las Vegas were the sacrificial lamb this week once that game got out of hand. But it should have been Carolina, really. Yeah. But the the witching hour is a real thing, and you see some varies week to week, varies season to season. That was one of the wildest 20-minute stretches I can remember in the NFL in that 1 o'clock window where you had the Rams field goal block back to the house to cover for the Eagles. You had the Jets block a field goal to the house to take the lead against the Buccaneers on the road with a backup quarterback as a nearly touchdown dog in a quadruple revenge game, apparently, because Baker Mayfield decided to throw shade at Steve Wilkes in the post game and Todd Bowles against his old team for the first time. And then, of course, the Packers and the Browns, where, Cleveland fought its precious little heart out as long as it could, played great defense, kept staying in the game. Quinshon Judkins looks awesome, ran the ball really well. Flacco didn't make any monster mistakes. And then Green Bay's just going to stroll in and kick a field goal to win. And they block it. And next thing you know, Cleveland's banging home a big one for the biggest upset of the season.
It was wild in that all those blocked field goals happened in a 10-minute stretch. It was utterly maddening. As we say goodbye, real quick, tonight, you couldn't have, theoretically, it seems like a contrast, right? Detroit and Baltimore, except that both of these offenses are dual threat, high power. The Lions can run the ball as well as anybody. Now, it's the Ravens, theoretically, this is what we think. The Ravens are all about running the football, and they are. But Lamar Jackson is awesome at throwing. So is any team going to be able to stop the other?
They played in 2023 in week 7, maybe, and the Ravens beat the Lions. The Lions not peak Lions, but up there Lions in terms of their offensive potency. And the Ravens beat them 38-6 or 38-3. It was an absolute bloodbath. I think that is a little bit on the table just because of how dominant Baltimore can be. And if you just paint this scenario where it's prime time, maybe it's a little, I don't think it's going to be rainy or anything, but it might just be a little Baltimore gross right?
Right.
Jared Goff, you're down 21 points, having to throw the ball a ton. And then Derrick Henry just gets downhill and keeps ripping off long runs. I could see that. I don't think the Lions can blow out the Ravens, but this is the highest total we've seen this year, I believe, 53.5. It's a monster number. Especially for two teams that have had good defenses in the past. But yeah, I think we should get some fireworks tonight. You can parlay the 4 most likely touchdown scorers, and if you get 4 a touchdown exacta, pretty good work. And it pays out like 12-1, which is just ridiculous.
I mean, Derrick Henry's minus 200 to score a touchdown. Right, I get it. Yeah, it should be, but.
I will say that the interesting market too, if you look at it, is first touchdown score.
Yeah.
Because ordinarily, if it were like Baltimore and Cleveland, Derrick Henry would be like plus 300. He's like 6-1 or something like that, I think. And that's primarily because if the Lions win the toss, and you won't know this until we get to the kickoff, if the Lions win the toss, I think everyone believes there's a decent chance they can script out something where they go down and score. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do win the toss, or I guess if Baltimore wins in the first, whatever you want. But
right.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Lions won the toss, if they decided to take the ball first and try to score, because there is nothing more debilitating. Remember that Monday, I think it was Sunday or Monday night last year, Bills and Ravens. First play from scrimmage, Derrick Henry, 80 yards. There is nothing more debilitating. It was Sunday night, yeah. But there's nothing more debilitating than that, just soul-crushing Derrick Henry 7 yards a carry or Derrick Henry jailbreak on that first possession. I think it'll be a shootout. I think it'll be fun. I'd lay the points of the Ravens if you twisted my arm, but I think there's some good player props and stuff out there for tonight where it's just it's going to be a shootout and you're going to see lots of points. So that's kind of the market I would look at.
I'm going to have a corner of my eye on that game as the Hurricanes take on the Lightning for the first preseason game. All right, Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. Thank you so much, sir. I will talk to you next week.
Go America. Let's Ryder Cup.
By the way, Europe plus 170 right now on FanDuel.
Stinky. That is stinky.
Plus 170.
I mean, the European team does no long tangent or anything, but the European team obviously is better.
Yeah, I think so.
As a whole?
I think so.
But, I mean, they are going to be treated very poorly at Bethpage.
Yes, they are.
I want to be a visitor there.
Yes, they are. All right, man, we'll sort it out next week. Thanks.
All right, buddy. See you, man.